When you think about information technology or physics, you probably don't immediately think about building an electric guitar. But concepts in electronics, CAD design, manufacturing, math, IT, and physics play a part in actually making things like an electric guitar. In the end, what one studies in college will hopefully translate into a career, doing things, making things based on and using all that knowledge. And that's why MCC offers a class called How to Build an Electric Guitar. And we'll get into it in more detail coming up. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka. Stay tuned for Metro and More. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. We are in the studio with Hugh Schuett, information technology instructor here at MCC, and highly acclaimed musician George Walker, to explain a little bit about MCC's class called Building an Electric Guitar. Good to have you both on the set. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Thanks.
Maybe a minute or two about each of you. Hugh, if you wouldn't mind, your background. You've been at the college a long time now.
Almost 17 years.
Yeah.
And I teach computer programming, project management, and how to build electric guitars.
So when I said information technology, that's incorrect.
No, that is what
correct.
all the programming classes are.
Gotcha. It's good to see you again.
Thanks. It's good to see you.
Treat to have you on the show, George. I said highly acclaimed musician. That's just scratching the surface. And then we could do an entire show about your career, but maybe just a little bit of background for our viewers, and then we'll jump into this thing called How to Build an Electric Guitar.
Well, I played guitar for a long time. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. I bought a lot of guitars, but what got my interest is build my own guitar, because they build guitars, but it's not one size fits all. So I really enjoy playing it, but I would really enjoy making my own more than just playing it. So,
And you did.
Yes, I did.
Just treat our viewers to a little bit about your career. You've been around, and you've done a lot.
Fortunately, I built up a reputation where if somebody came in to Boston without a guitar player, they would call me at home and tell me to come and introduce myself to that person. And so when I was about 18, 19 years old, I'd go on the road with guys who had hit records, Tommy Tucker, Freddie Scott, Hey Girl. I met some of everybody before they actually made it, like the Supremes. I knew the Supremes 6 months before they even made that first hit. And
wow.
The people at Motown. And then when I went to Hollywood, it just started all over again. I just started meeting all kinds of people, especially one day a guy comes in and he says, would you like to play with Lou Rawls? I said, when?
You'll never find. What a voice, huh?
Grammy Award winning person. Yeah, I want to play with you.
And you may be wondering, why would George be on the show? You built that guitar in this class. Yeah.
With the help of Hugh, the teacher, I got what I wanted, because I wanted a business card and using the guitar for that. So the laser printer helped to do all of that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hugh, explain a little bit about what the Fab Lab is, and we'll start there.
Well, it's, I guess the best way to describe it is it's student focused. It's got all special tools in it: laser cutters, 3D printers, CNC routers, and we're getting a whole lot of new stuff. Plasma cutters, 5-axis milling machines, and it gives the student the ability to actually go to the lab with an idea and create something, whatever it might be. And this guitar is one of the examples. We deal with electronics, we deal with wood, we deal with finish.
And Fab, of course, Fab Lab is short for Fabrication Lab.
It is.
Yeah. So how did this class come to be a reality?
Well, we really wanted a way to get students involved in the lab. And one of the best ways that we found was give them something cool to make. And so we thought that we could actually teach them how to build a guitar, sneak in the math, physics, and science, and then everything would be cool. Well, we find out that about 80%, 90% of the students have never used tools nowadays. So we not only have to teach them how to build a guitar, but how to use tools, how to use hammers, how to use scroll saws, how to use skill saws, routers, all these kind of simple tools that years ago George and I used all the time. And nowadays they don't have any skills like that. So it's not just teaching them how to build a guitar and sneaking this other stuff in, it's teaching them how to build a guitar, how to use their hands with the tools, and sneaking into math, physics, and science.
Yeah. So how did you hear about the class, George?
A friend of mine from one of the libraries, I happened to see at this campus, Fort Omaha, said, do you know they have a guitar class to build your own guitar? I said, no. So you got to tell me where I can sign up. And so that very day, I just signed up, and so I made it into the class because I've just had so many different kinds of guitars that I knew what I wanted to do with it. And first, it starts with the neck.
And there it is.
Yeah.
So you do this about every other quarter?
Yes,
Yeah.
about every other quarter.
And it takes the entire quarter?
It does, once a week, about 4 hours. And then they have lab time that's available to them. If they need to do more work or want to do more work on the guitar than the class time allows.
And is that usually the case?
It depends on the student. I mean, sometimes, like with this guitar here, there was tons of time sanding to get this smooth, So it just depends on what they want to do. I've had one student actually with paint and his fingers do the Starry Night on one side and the Scream on the other side. And so that was a really rough finish, and he didn't need any extra time at all.
George, take us through you building that guitar. First of all, you said you always wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
What did you have in mind? I mean, in what respects did you think that would end up being as unique as I assume it is to you?
Well, if you play all the notes and all the frets on your guitar, this has 21 frets. So I had bought a guitar, it was a great guitar, but you couldn't get comfortably up to the high notes, the very last note. You had to just do things with your fingers, that just weren't comfortable.
Because
so
what do you call that part of
this is a cutaway.
So it wasn't long enough?
It wasn't deep enough.
Deep enough.
Your cutaway has to be, if you play up this end of the guitar, the highest note on the guitar, you have to make sure your cutaway will allow your fingers to get there.
So you
comfortably.
Wanted, yeah. You knew you needed a deeper
This
cutaway?
deep cutaway. So I can get these notes up here, play chords up there, see?
Yeah.
So I mean.
And normally you'd be squeezing your fingers
Yeah,
into there?
if it was here, can you picture me trying to get there if the cutaway ended there? So it has to be deep enough.
So that's one thing you wanted to do.
Yeah, that's for sure.
What else did you
Basically,
imagine doing?
the neck of the guitar.
Uh-huh.
You want to get your fingers to get around playing any type of chord. And, if the neck is thick, that means you're working with less. If it's thinner, you're working with more to manipulate your fingers and your thumb to play whatever you want to play.
So you wanted a thin neck.
A thin neck, yes.
Very cool. So how do you build an electric guitar? You guys chime in, both of you. How do you do it?
Blocks of wood.
Start with blocks of wood?
Right. And you can see on George's guitar that there's more than one piece of or type of wood there. It's all glued together, and then a CNC router cuts out the basic shape. But it's got very sharp edges on it. I mean, there's no rounded edges like on this.
Sure.
George put those there the way he wanted them. On this one, you can see that there's an arm relief that I cut into it. Or on this side here, it's a larger curve, just make it more comfortable against your belly. And so everybody gets to choose what they want and how they want to do it in that sense. And so it's, once they get the rough cut, then they start figuring out exactly what they want to do with it, how they want to do it. And did you have a hard time figuring it out, or did you already have a pre-planned idea?
I had a pre-plan because I have solid body guitars. This is a solid body. There are no sound holes in it. So I have enough experience with buying guitars to know what I want to do, and whatever I had to work with in frets, how deep this has to be so I can get those notes up there. But we did make a small little example of what we were going to make. What do you call that?
Oh, just the template?
Yeah, we made like a template,
Yeah.
you know.
For starters.
Yeah, that's what we
And
actually
then you looked at it and thought, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
use it.
I have extra pieces of wood laying around, and so if they want to practice with the router before they actually do it on their guitar, they get that opportunity. It's like, you don't want to mess up something that you really care about, you know. And in the beginning, they carry it like luggage, but towards the end, they're like this with it. They are.
Well, George, is that
Yeah,
your?
because you like to protect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite guitar since you made it like you wanted it?
It's one of my favorites, and I kind of use this against the guitars, the price range of guitars, and the quality and the sound. And this is up with what I got out of it. It's up with an $900 guitar.
Do you use it a lot?
I use it every now and then because it weighs a lot. It's solid mahogany and that curly maple. It weighs a lot.
Would you do it differently in terms of weight if you had it to do over?
Probably not. It's just a matter of how long you're going to play. Like if I play for 2 hours, I'd rather a lighter guitar. But for maybe a half an hour or so, this is fine.
But is it as special as any guitar you have?
Oh yeah, the sound is.
Play something for us.
Let's see.
Very cool. Should I know that?
That's just made up spontaneity.
Okay.
So that's just.
So I shouldn't know it.
Part of the blues, just play.
Yeah.
You know, I just kind of I write lessons all the time, so I'll make up anything on the spot.
Should mention you do teach.
Yes.
Yeah. In OPS magnet schools, right?
Yes, OPS magnet schools.
So I know that you want to speak to what goes into deciding on materials and how that translates into performance of the guitar. Is that it, or?
Yeah, because the wood is key, and to me, mahogany, no question. I like the sound that you can get out of a mahogany wood on the guitar. They have other woods that do not give you as balanced a sound, meaning the low notes and the high notes. You want certain highs and you want certain lows. Some guitars are all like treble. They all sound high-pitched. That's not, to me, a good wood unless you like that sound of just high-pitched all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be useful. It's about the player. Fender makes a Telecaster, and it gives it that high-pitched country western or high-pitched blues sound that maybe a regular Fender Stratocaster won't get. So it's a matter of choice.
So wood is one consideration.
To me, it's the first.
Number one.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, I know that you think about the importance of these concepts that you learn, CAD and et cetera, kind of the physics of it, right?
Well, inside these pickups, there are magnets and there's copper wire creating electromagnetism. The more copper wire you wound around the magnets, the stronger the output.
Wow.
So you want to make sure that it doesn't have a weak output. You want it to pick up those vibrations to get them out of that amplifier. And you'll know once you play through an amplifier whether it's weak or not, because then you'll be turning up the volume louder and louder, and you may not be able to compensate, but it starts here. Should be enough windings around those magnets so that you'll have a certain amount of strength.
So a player as accomplished as you are, or even nearly in that ballpark, can sound way better with a way better instrument.
Or you can take that instrument and work on it and bring it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you've got to physically kind of do it, right?
Well,
if it's got limitations, for example, with
yeah,
the
you
copper
find
wire.
out, sure. If you know enough about guitars, you'll know the limitations. And one of the simple things is how close is the pickup to the string. If it's real low, then it's going to be weaker anyhow. But if you don't already know that, you may not know to adjust that.
For example, pick up to the string. What do you mean?
Well, see these little like screws.
Yes.
They're picking up the vibrations of the string.
Right.
Now, if it's lowered, see, this has an adjustment.
Ah.
That means I can lower this.
Toward the guitar or higher toward the string.
Or towards the strings. So if it's more towards the string, it'll give a little bit more power. But you can't overshoot the amount of clearance, because you have to have a certain amount of clearance, like, at least, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch roughly, or you can eyeball it. But it'll vibrate out of tune if you're too close.
Wow. How long does it take a player to understand all that?
Some players
Never do.
may never. See, that's why the Fab Lab was another way of adding to more knowledge. See, you have knowledge, but when you build your own guitar, it just adds more knowledge to kind of consider other things. But that's something I knew. So in other words, I could adjust a guitar that's not up to snuff, so to speak, and bring it up better and make it a better sounding guitar, yes.
So all these STEM applications, science, math, engineering, what's the other one? Technology, all have a part in building it the right way, or the way you want to build it.
Yeah, you take all that into consideration and you can build a nice guitar.
And Hugh, you were saying that, what, about half of the students are guitar players?
Right.
Half aren't?
Yeah, exactly. Half of these become wall hangers, and because I don't play, I just build stuff.
But
And,
so you wouldn't be as concerned about the STEM applications because you aren't going to play it anyway.
No, the STEM applications are really important, I think, but I like to see something I make go to someone that can actually play it and make it sound really well. So yeah, it's important to make sure that it's right, but it's also the application of like, for example, in the math, we use logarithms to figure out the fret spacing, and so beyond that, there's physics behind how things work. Like, for example, George was talking about the pickups. The pickup actually produces a magnetic field around it. If you could envision like what you see on the TV with the earth and the magnetic fields. Well, when the strings vibrate, it breaks that magnetic field, which then creates a current, and then that current comes out through all these dials, the potentiometers, and then out through this and to the amp, which then can take that sound and then that's what we hear.
Now, see, I can't understand George why he doesn't play if he knows all this stuff. It's like anybody's profession. Anybody could do it, right?
Well, if you spend enough time, but if you're too busy building stuff all the time,
Yeah.
when do you have time to stop
learn
and
how to
slow
play?
down and learn how to do this?
This
He's
is-
offered several times, and
Yeah.
one day
There comes a point in one's life when it's a little too late.
well, I think the building stuff, the wife told me the other day that I'm no longer a forklift. I have to actually start using other things and other people, and so when I have to slow down even more, I'm going to be bugging George and learn how to play these
Good.
things.
I just find it fascinating that you actually built that. Could you play something? Do you take
Yeah.
requests?
Well, for instance, what do you want?
Maybe a little on Broadway,
Okay.
George Benson. Beautiful. Love it. I should know this. Did George Benson write that?
No.
Who did? Do you remember?
That was written by somebody else,
That's okay.
and a singing group actually got the hit
Oh,
from it.
yeah.
So that's a revised-
Early 60s group or late 50s?
Early,
Yeah.
early 60s.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the group right
Yeah.
now.
But I love George Benson's version of that. I've got to ask you, we were talking before we went on the show, all the people you've worked with. I don't want to say favorite, but kind of. Who
Well, you know,
Lou Rawls, you mentioned Lou Rawls.
Working for Lou Rawls was the best. The reason is he liked guitar players, and he liked you to take the lead. So you had a lot of ways to sell yourself playing with him. He didn't mind. So that was the best. You weren't restricted like, certain copy the record. You come up with your own new ideas of another way to present the song. So that was my best job, really.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Should mention you have a website.
Yes.
You want to
World Wide Web, GeorgeWalkerMusic.com.
Yeah. And do you have on there where you're performing, or?
I usually put it on Facebook, and
Facebook?
it'll take you right over to Facebook for the gigs that I'm doing and things like that. And
Some of them are long term, right? I mean, you've been at Exarban.
well, I've been there since the fall. I do Potbelly's sandwich shop on Blondo and 120th a couple of years, and I do farmers markets.
Yeah.
Just all sorts of things. And we got this week Marvin Meets Miles, which is the guy who he was in the background of that movie La La Land playing trumpet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm doing a gig with him at Love's Jazz and Art this coming Saturday.
Very cool. I want to take an opportunity to let you guys just talk about whatever you want to talk about relative to this class, how to build an electric guitar or whatever else. We were talking to you about the fact that, you know, you could use, I mean, you kind of just pick an electric guitar, how to build an electric guitar. You could have picked anything, right? How to build what, fill in the blank?
Yeah, pretty much. And but the nice thing about this is there's a big interest in guitars, and people that they really like them, and there's a lot of art out there that goes along with it. You know, so it's like they get to design stuff. They get to you know, use the laser cutter to do, you know, engravings. They get to design stuff like this headstock here has a skull engraved in it with a laser cutter.
Who did that one?
I did. I built this one.
Have you played that one, George?
No, I haven't, because after the class I was back to business, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't think this was, I was working on it then, but I don't think it was done then. So, but it's, the other thing that we've introduced into the class since George took it was we put in Gallup strengths, so that not only do they learn about tools and a little bit about math, physics, and science that go into how the guitar works and how to make it, but they learn about themselves. So they learn how they interact within a group, what their strengths are, things that are important to them. Like you'll find that an individual that ends up identifying as information on the Gallup strengths will gather lots of information about guitars, but they might struggle to make a decision as to which one of those things that they want to do on theirs. And you can see that coming out as the class progresses. They also, as a group project, get to build a cigar box guitar.
Yeah, and we've got it look right here on the set.
Yeah, that's one of them they did in the fall. And they
You
can
want to
put
grab that?
they can
Yeah.
put electronics in here, or they can put they can do no electronics. You know, but this is really,
That says it all about the group.
yeah, you know, and sometimes, and you can watch with the Gallup strengths and how the group works well together. You can see who is going to end up being the leaders, who's going to be the follower, who's going to get all the information about stuff. But so it really is telling, and it's a good thing to add to the class, I think.
George, you got any thoughts you want to share?
I think that there's more to be done with just this idea of a cigar box. What you can do is you can change the strings. You could use the first 4 strings of the guitar on there. And I think that would just open it up to do more chords and more solo.
And we've had one group did a 4-string guitar, cigar box guitar. This is a 3-string. We even had one in the summer quarter of last year do a bass guitar that was a cigar box guitar. So they used the bass strings and it was a 4-string. So they have the complete say in how this thing looks, if they stain it, you know, what they use the laser cutter for, and how they use it. So
I have to ask you, George, are you interested in building another one?
You know, I am, and I'm also wondering about a ukulele. I just taught a ukulele class up the street at the Nelson Mandela School. So it was a soprano, which is very crazy to me. The first string and the last string are almost the same. They're only maybe a short step away as far as going from C to D. You might have C on the first string, and maybe that last string is D. Well, that's kind of like, you'd think that you're going to have bass notes as you go to the lower strings, but the lowest bass note is as high as the first note, so it's kind of like, kind of crazy. Well, so if I built a ukulele, I would build it based on the first 4 strings of the guitar.
I was going to say, the only problem with that is we're going to have to change the name of the class, how to build a ukulele.
yeah.
Well, it's part of the strings, right?
Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate it very much. It's been a treat. How to build an electric guitar. Thank you for being with us on Metro and more. Our goal is to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and the reach of the college. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metropolitan Community College. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.